Hey, this is Paul at Crystal Commerce, and today in this training video, we're going to be going over NA variants or nil variant quantities. And what I'm talking about here, you may notice in your point of sale, normally when you pull up a product that's out of stock, we'll have out of stock visible here. The point of sale will still bring it up. Like we can see here, like this thought distortion. We can see we have zero quantity, but it still brings up like the near mint condition. And the point of sale will still let you like add it to your cart, even though you're out of stock. It'll just go down to -1. And that's just kind of in case maybe you have it physically in your store, but you haven't inventoried it yet. It allows you to still add it to an order and let the customer purchase it before making you go in and adjust your inventory ahead of time. In some cases, we'll go ahead and clear that, you may see this. If we look Core 2021, it'll just say no variance quantity NA. And the reason for that is, by default, when you first import a product or products from our catalog, none of the variants will actually have a real numerical value. All of like the condition and language combinations will have a nil value. It's not zero, it's nil. It's not even a number. So to demonstrate that, we'll go over to our inventory products page and let's go to like, let's do core set 2020, right? If we go to our variant filters, we're gonna look for quantity between 0 and, let's look for all the quantities that are at 0. And we can see it brings up a bunch of cards. These are actually at 0. I've just recently imported core set 2021. I'm going to go ahead and turn these variant filters off. We'll search core set 2021, and we can see these all have 0 in stock, right? Alpine Houndmaster, Alchemist's Gift. We'll just note a few cards here. But if I turn on this quantity between 0 and 0 filter, nothing shows up. And the reason for that is those quantities aren't actually at 0, they're nil, they're nothing. There isn't actually a numerical value. Part of the reason for that is if all of like the conditions and languages actually had 0 in stock, they would, the point of sale would have every single condition and language combination show up here in this dropdown. And it would also take up a ton of space in your database that just doesn't need to be used. So by default, everything is at nil. So let's say you wanted to make sure everything was accessible in the point of sale before you actually add like any real quantity to it. What turns it from a nil value into a real like number is when the first time a quantity is adjusted. So if we update this to 1, it's going to convert that to a nil value to an actual number 1. If we want to clear this NA without having to actually adjust our quantities, there is a way we can do that. And what we can do is we should still have core set 2021 selected. We'll select near mint and English. I recommend only doing English, and in most cases you just want to do near mint. You could do like near mint and light play if you want, but for most examples or most cases, I'd recommend only selecting like your default condition. So in this case, we'll select near mint and English. We'll go over here under batch update under variant actions, and I'm going to choose the update optimum quantity. I'm not choosing update quantity because I don't want to, just to be extra safe, right? We don't want to like update our quantities by a certain amount, like increase them by 1 and then decrease them by 1 or something like that. Just in case, like just to prevent quantity listing to like TCG player that maybe you don't actually have in stock, and then having someone happen to purchase it in between, like batch updating it up and down by 1. So just to make it extra safe, we're going to choose optimum quantity, since that'll make sure we don't actually put anything in stock where it's available for sale, even for a short amount of time. And then I'm going to keep it on increment opt quantity by, and then in here I'm going to put 0. So we're going to increment the optimum quantity by 0. It's not going to make any like real change to your quantities or optimum quantities, but what it will do is the system will still see that the optimum quantity is being adjusted for the first time, and it'll convert those nil values into a real number 0. So I'm going to go ahead and perform this batch update. So just to be clear, we have our category selected, near mint and English, and then we're going to update opt quantity, increment by 0. And I'm not using any other filters here, so let's batch update. And you can do this for other product types as well. For example, if you notice that like you have like board games that show up with this NA in here, we could go product type board games. Oh, disappeared there. And we could go here, like just select new, variant actions, update optimum quantity by 0. And this will make sure we actually have a real 0 for all of our board games if we want to make sure that we can always add like a board game to someone's point of sale cart. So let's check on our batch update now. It's still processing, but it's almost done. It's at 73%. So let's go into the point of sale, and I'm going to go ahead and refresh it. And we'll select our core 2021 category, make out of stock visible. And now here we go. We have no longer it says quantity NA. We actually see that it has quantity of 0, and it says near mint English. So we could, add this to our cart. Of course, it will set the quantity to a negative amount. So yeah, if you're experiencing this where maybe you're seeing NA quantities in your point of sale, the other thing that could happen is like right after you import a set, if you then use like the filters, even this filter here, total quantity between 0 and whatever, it's only going to bring up the cards that no longer have like all nil values. So now with core set, let's go ahead and clear that. Let's select core set 2021 again. So now if we go ahead and do that, quantity between 0 and whatever, and search, oh, whoops, I still have board game selected. One sec, let's just refresh the whole page entirely. All right. Core set 2021, quantity between 0, and now everything's gonna show up. So hopefully that was informative, and hopefully this helps you resolve any issues with like out of stock stuff not showing up in your searches or showing up as NA in the point of sale. And yeah, we'll catch you next time.